Around December 2nd, 2023, shortly after the Fortnite OG finale event, leaks and screenshots of Chapter 5 were spread online. Upon closer inspection of the leaked map, people could identify train tracks snaking throughout the entire map. Players were excited. People have been asking for a train in Fortnite for ages, and we were finally getting one. Unfortunately, the reality didn't quite live up to the expectations. Let's break down the main issues. First off, the train is too small and feels cramped. It feels more like a moving box than a strategic asset. The limited space makes it difficult for players to engage in combat efficiently. Instead of providing a thrilling battleground, it often turns into a chaotic mess where players are struggling to find cover. Then there's the issue with the physics system. The interaction is a mess. Loot glitches, players get stuck and are randomly thrown off the train. It's incredibly frustrating and ruins the gameplay experience. These glitches make the train more of a liability than an asset. The loot on the train is another major letdown. There are 4 small loot caches as well as 1 large loot bin that takes an eternity to open, and the loot isn't even that good. Players expect high tier loot but often end up with a bunch of blue and maybe 1 or 2 purple items. This imbalance makes players question whether it's even worth the effort to board the train in the first place. High risk locations should come with high rewards, but that's not the case here. And the train is a high risk area. It has a large visual indicator for all players with the visual sound effects on, and it makes a loud whistle noise when you're near it. Lastly, the train feels static and boring. There's no real challenge or excitement once you're on it. It's just a moving platform with nothing special going on. The lack of dynamic elements make it feel like a missed opportunity. Instead of being a highlight of Chapter 5, it ends up being a forgettable feature that players avoid. So how can we fix these issues and make the train better? Perhaps if Epic decides to reintroduce it in Chapter 6. Here are some suggestions. First, increase the size of the train. I would suggest making the train wider by about 2 tiles. Add more carriages and make it spacious enough for players to move around and engage in combat. This will make it a more viable and strategic location. Imagine a train with multiple carriages, each with different layouts and cover options. This would create a much more engaging and tactical environment where players can plan their moves and outmaneuver their opponents. Next, Epic Games need to address the physics glitches. Ensure smooth interaction so players can board, move, and fight on the train without unexpected issues. Fixing these glitches will make the train a reliable and enjoyable feature. Players should be able to trust that the train will function as intended without worrying about getting stuck or losing loot. Upgrading the loot quality is also crucial. The train should be a high-risk, high-reward location. Add rare and legendary items to make it worth the effort. Imagine finding powerful weapons and valuable resources on the train, making it a prime target for players looking to gear up quickly. This would add an element of excitement and competition, as players race to control the train and claim the loot, sorta like Loot Island. Finally, introduce bosses and buildable areas on the train. Imagine fighting a mini-boss while the whole train is moving, or building structures to defend against other players. This would add a whole new level of excitement. Bosses could drop exclusive loot, and buildable areas would allow players to fortify their positions and create strategic defenses. Building would also encourage competitive players to land in the train. The only issue I foresee is that the base building grid would intersect with the moving building grid that would be on the train. And to fix this, the train should have an invisible barrier around it that should break any build that comes close to it. Now that we've fixed the base train, let's talk more about Now, we don't want to make the train too overpowered, but we do want to tie it into the gameplay loop of a regular Battle Royale game. Similar to Loot Island, zone towers, and bunkers, trains can serve as sort of a mid-game loot upgrade and refresh. And to do that, adding mod benches on the train would be ideal. Being able to upgrade your weapons while on the move will speed up the pacing of the game significantly, and this is for the better. This would not only make the train more valuable, but also create intense battles as players fight for control of the mod benches. Another great idea is multiple tracks and route adjustments. Currently the train follows a single path, which can sometimes lead it into storm and making it less useful. By adding multiple tracks and allowing players to control the train's route, it would become a strategic asset that teams could use to their advantage. In fact, adding multiple sets of tracks and having more than one train would be awesome, as it would be an even bigger part of the game loop. Adding switches that could set the train off course or on another path would make for some funny, competitive content, as it would ruin pro players' planned routes. Seasonal redesigns are another exciting possibility. Each season, the train could get a new look and feel, keeping it fresh and engaging. This would include changes to its appearance, interior layout, and even the type of loot it carries. Seasonal redesigns would keep players coming back to see what's new and how they could use the train to their advantage. Enhanced visual appeal and interior exploration are also key. Adding more detailed and interactive interiors would make the train a much more attractive destination. Lastly, dynamic elements like launch pads or turrets on the train could add a whole new layer of gameplay. Adding rotation items on the train would make getting around the map easier and more fun. And coming back to competitive Fortnite, turrets on the train could be beneficial for pros who want to stay in the train and use it to drive around and deal storm surge damage to different teams. With these changes, the train could become one of the most exciting features in the future of Fortnite, making it a more viable spot to land and loot up from. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Remember to like, subscribe, yada yada, and I'll see you in the next one.